But what has happened with the Corps of Engineers now damming up or leveeing up the Mississippi River and a lot of the tributaries and all that? You don't have that same flood cycle that has been there for a very, very, very long time. And that dynamic is also changing. Oh, and we're live, so this is supposed to be Bossier Watch, not the outdoor news. I guess we should talk about politics, but we're off on ducks for a few minutes.
Well, hey, I mean, that's weird. I'm hearing weird noises. Is that
That's
you?
not good. No, I don't think it was me.
Okay, well, maybe I'm losing it. But hey, this issue concerns everybody. I mean, and I know, like I have friends, and I say remember when we had Captain George,
Right,
uh, one of the oldest shrimping companies down there in South Louisiana, Waklaski,
right.
and he gave an opinion. He's not a big fan of releasing the Mississippi and letting just the natural water flow across out there and rebuilding habitat by virtue of siltation and all that. But primarily, a lot of the people like him and their debate and their argument on that is that it's going to kill the oyster beds.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about that. Did you know that those oyster beds take like 30 something years or like this unbelievable amount of time to develop and build and construct? I had no
No,
idea.
yeah, I didn't either.
I mean, it takes forever. And so, and like that Barataria Bay thing that the governor stopped. Well, the governor cited a lot of reasons for stopping it, but one of them primarily being that it was going to, a lot of the fishing community down there was opposed to it because it was going to destroy some oyster beds and disturb a lot of stuff like that. The people that want to try to build up the coast and all of that, they want it, and they're pissed off. They wanted it to go forward, and I want that to happen too. I want the coast to be restored and built up. But the math and the costs of that, the John Bell Edwards administration didn't calculate the costs correctly and didn't report the appropriate costs, as I appreciate it, to the Army Corps of Engineers, and it was going to end up costing like billions more.
Right.
And we simply don't have that money. So, Governor Landry just nixed it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Corps of Engineers should be dismantled and take the levees down or anything like that. I mean, there's that would cause too drastic of a correction. I'm just it's a problem when we try to control Mother Nature that way. Anyway, I could go off on a tangent about this forever, but so I guess we need to talk about. Well, number one, it's Thursday night, not Tuesday night. Did you know that I have been unplugged from politics for nearly 2 weeks between my jackplate saga, getting my jackplate hooked up on my boat, and guess what? I really like my GMC truck. It's 2015 model. It's paid for. It's been a good truck, except the transmissions. Did you know? I know you know. I was on my back. As a matter of fact, it's your fault. Pulling the transmission pan out from under that sucker. And I got it done, by the way.
But don't you feel more satisfied that you know for a fact that it took a dump and you was gambling that whether it had or it hadn't before? I know the
Look,
answer already.
I can say this much. I did have some enjoyment, even though I am not a mechanic. I can do that kind of stuff. If we're rebuilding an engine or rebuilding a transmission, that ain't happening. But I can say it was very satisfying when I finally got that gum worked out of there, and it looked just like it did in the YouTube videos. Those guys were right. All these YouTube mechanics are right.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
look, we're not here to talk about ducks and transmissions, but what are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, we've got a couple of things, and we're not, and I say this every time, and Jeff Sadow reminds us that I always jinx it when I say this, but we're not going to have a long show tonight because I've got my 3-year-old grandson here, and he is waiting patiently on me. But we need to talk about some more about this data center stuff. We've got a little bit more information to share, and I think you've done a little digging on that. And I was reminded over Thanksgiving when Rena, remember the lady from the Bossier Extended Stay Hotel?
Oh yeah. Down there, Hamilton Road and I-20
Yeah,
there.
where the Bossier City Mafia went in there, Gestapo tactics, and shut them down. We'll talk some more about that and remind everybody about that. But she sent me a happy Thanksgiving text message, which I thought was pretty nice. So I got to thinking about it, but I hadn't had time to dig back into it. Well, as it turns out, there has been a federal lawsuit filed against the city of Bossier over that hotel and how that whole situation was handled. And it is something to read and something to behold. So we're going to touch on that a little bit tonight. And we have something exclusive to share. It is a leaked memo from the city of Bossier. I'm just going to leave it at that. A leaked memo from the city of Bossier.
Okay, so y'all all text each other, city councilmen, city employees, and say, "Hey, they're going to leak some secret. You got a mole. They're fixing to leak something. Those jack wagons are at it again. You better get on and pay attention."
We hadn't done this in a long time, so we'll see how it turns out, and we may be the next target of lawsuit. We'll see. So anyway, that's pretty much what I got tonight. And then if somebody's got something in the comments they want to talk about, or you do, or whatever, we'll touch on that too. So,
well, hey, the town of Benton had the Christmas parade and all, and that thing went off without a hitch. It was good. A lot of people went, had a good time. I think the city did a good job, and they're. Of course, there's some people make some criticisms, but
well, let me expand on that a little bit. I heard this rumor, Duke Lowry. So you're a Bentonite up there. I heard this rumor that there were no city workers that helped with the parade. None were seen.
Well, somebody, I understand, did articulate that they didn't see, but I don't know how that whole thing would have happened without a city employee being involved. I'm scratching my head trying to figure that one out just a little bit.
Yeah, and if y'all want to know more about what we're talking about, go to Chris Redford's Facebook page. He does some very interesting videos sometimes, but he's got a pretty good one up about that very subject. So anyway, y'all check that out. All right, do we want to go ahead and do a break and all that and do the intro, or?
Yeah, let's do it. That'll give me a chance to share a couple of places and invite a couple of people to come on and watch. We like that all of y'all, there's about 50 of you here already. We appreciate all of you being here, but we want to try to inform as many people as we can. Heck, the numbers may go down after the break. Who knows?
Yeah,
we may
y'all may quit watching. Yeah. So, all right, well, I'm going to punch the button here, folks. Y'all know what to do. Go grab your popcorn, get your stiff drink ready. I'm going to hit the countdown button. We will be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. And like Duke said, y'all share the show out and text your friends and city council people and text Tommy the mayor too. Let Tommy know we're on tonight. Here we go.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
And I titled it, "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
And aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally that's been interpreted different ways in the court system, all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks.
Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And we're back.
Well, I'm just wondering what strikes everybody's fancy. Do they want to talk about data centers, or do they want to talk about lawsuits in Bossier City? They're two hot topics. The lawsuits, I don't know that it's mainstream and people are as familiar with that, but I do know that everybody's talking about data centers right now. So I don't know. Do you have a preference?
I say let's dive into the data center stuff. That is a hot topic. There are lots of questions out there. I think we've got some video here in a little bit from it was KSLA or whoever, and I think Keel had some sound bites or whatever from some Shreveport officials on the whole data center ordeal that's and drama that's playing out over there that may spill over onto this side of the river. So I say we do data center first.
Okay, data center it is. Well, let me get to where I'm paying. Hey, we had notes. You started on notes,
I
right?
started some notes, and I'll kind of kick us off while you're catching up there. So I'm gonna share out an article by John Settle over at Settle Talk. He also, of course, owns the Inquisitor and all that. But he's look. It just seems to me, I haven't talked to John about this. He seems to be pretty much on board with the data centers. And I want to be clear, and Duke, you can chime in on your stance as well. I am not anti-data center. I am not anti-technology. Of course, I am pro-data centers and pro-technology, but I do have some questions and reservations about the actions of our elected officials and some of these incentives and things that may happen because of these data centers or any other business for that matter that may come into the area. All right, so Settle's article is about generator noise is not a deciding factor in the new data centers. And he opines that while it's true many of the first constructed data centers were powered by on-site generators that ran 24/7 and produced sound and noise above the operational sounds and noise of electrically powered facilities. That was the early days, and the state-of-the-art ones like the proposed one for Shreveport have generators only for backups in case of power, blah, blah, blah. All right. So
what this is a response. Him putting this, the two articles he put out, I mean, and he's on this, he's on the mark, but this is a response to a lot of the backlash from the fight against the data centers, or from groups or people who have jumped up to start fighting the data centers. And, I mean, how many of you, I mean, you may have saw it, Rex, talk about the Bitcoin mine place in Texas. I think maybe the last show,
yes.
You shared that?
Yeah, I shared it out. And here's the thing I want to be clear about that. I can't remember the exact decibel number. I want to say it was about 82 decibels or 85 decibels that they measured from some of the residences around there, which is not excessively loud. Here's the catch. It's non-stop. And people say, well, 82, 85 decibels, that's just like an average moderately loud conversation, but it's like the conversation goes on and never, ever, ever, ever stops, and nobody ever shuts up, and all you hear is this talking, and I never shut up, blah, 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 24/7, 365. That's the problem. It's not that they're excessively loud, it's that it never stops.
So I guess you're saying if you listen long enough, you'll stop hearing it?
You go stark raving mad.
Okay. Well, that wasn't exactly where I was thinking of going on this discussion here, but so last show we raised the issue, and to my knowledge, I don't think before we raised it, Rex, we brought up the fact of non-disclosure because we juxtaposed it against what took place in Caddo, with the MPC voting it down based off of the simple question of whether or not the electrical rates would go up, and the SWEPCO guy gave a substandard, subpar answer to the question. And then fast forward to the Bossier City Council meeting where you had an ordinance to supply water to an unknown corporate, to allow the mayor to enter into some agreement with an unknown person, uh, a lot of water. And there was non-disclosure agreement. That's why there was nothing in there. So we started talking about that these elected officials have been signing non-disclosure agreements. And again, like you said, we're not against data centers, but the libertarian in me says that if government is going to negotiate and deal on our behalf, the basic question of what expense to me, whether it be in taxes, fees, or increased utilities, that question should be able to be answered, period, full stop. And you don't have to be a Republican, you don't have to be a Libertarian, you don't have to be a Democrat, because the answer to that question affects all equally.
Yes, I agree 100%. Look, if private companies, are moving into an area and whatever, and they want to sign NDAs with each other, that's fine. But if it, in my opinion, if it involves public tax dollars in any way, there should be no NDA signed. I don't care if, to borrow Duke's favorite word, if you jackwagons want to sign them because every other city does. I don't care. It's still the wrong way to do it. And I can appreciate one city councilman's apprehension against signing them, but you went ahead and signed it anyway. You should have stood on your principles, in my opinion, on this. So I'm very much against it. Now, I want to get back to that electric rates, because in Settle's article, and I think I saw this on Keel as well, that apparently the SWEPCO representative or SWEPCO executive advised the Shreveport City Council yesterday at its meeting that SWEPCO had sufficient power capacity. He additionally advised that construction and operation of the data center would not raise electricity rates for consumers. I wonder if they're going to live up to that.
So, yeah, so stepping back just a hair. So to your point, about the NDAs and they shouldn't or what have you. So after we did that show, I started getting my phone started blowing up, and there were people wanting to file lawsuits. There were people wanting to start hanging people from trees. People were wound up. And again, we said then we're not against the data centers, and we articulated about water. We espoused that we believe that City of Bossier had the capacity to support the water, and to some of the folks, I told them, I said, look, I think it would be way premature trying to file lawsuits and try to do stuff like that, and I think you would lose. I don't think that's right. And I had forgotten this, but I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. Okay, let's see if I can do this. You ready for me to share yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hold on. I have to tell it which camera. Just a minute. There we go. Duke screen. Oops, I just lost you. Oh, there we go.
There we are. Yeah. So as it would go on, what I want to share here is in 2024 by Representative Stephen Jackson out of Shreveport, you had a bill, HB 461. And HB 461 provides for an exception for documents related to economic development negotiations by local governments to require certain procedures and notices, to provide a limitation on the amount of time certain information regarding negotiations may remain confidential, and to provide for related matters. Basically, there's a law on the books that provides for the ability of local governments to do NDAs and not have to discuss all this stuff. You can kind of read all of this right here.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I've never said that it's illegal or it's against the law or whatever. I just think it's shady that they do it, because it's not. This law doesn't force them to sign NDAs. It just gives them legal cover if they choose to sign the NDAs. They don't have to, and they shouldn't, in
Right.
my opinion. Period. And I don't want to hear the crap about, oh, well, we will lose our competitive edge because we have to compete with these other cities. None of them should be signing NDAs.
Well, listen. So I went a little further on that point, and there's one part right in here that there's a time limit on the NDAs. So as I appreciate it, 12 months, and when they sign it, it's good for 12 months. It can be redone, but after 12 months, they're out of it. But to the point of you were just articulating about companies, requiring them or to. So here's the explanation I was given. I asked why, and the answer I was given was that it's the companies that are seeking this non-disclosure agreement, and the reason that they're seeking, to not publicize what they're doing is it gets into this corporate espionage type thing
Right.
at this scale. It gets into where other companies that have a competing interest will go and take actions to start trying to throw a monkey wrench, you might say, in the activities or the negotiations to try to stop it from happening, to not make them suffer a loss or them to be able to get the business somewhere else or something to that effect, right?
Right.
Well, interestingly, so I've been kind of watching the tea leaves a little bit, and there was a little bit of a dialogue that was going on one of the social media pages over in Shreveport, right? And we all know our good friend Matt Kay. He's the chairman of the Caddo Parish Republican Executive Committee, highly active in politics. And I seen
Yep.
he had made a post. I challenged him and I said, "Hey," I said, don't you believe that these elected officials have an obligation to tell us all whether or not our electric or water or utilities are we're going to bear increased burdens?" And he kind of wavered around. He didn't really address my question. And then all of a sudden, these other people started weighing in, attacking him. And I guess they thought I was a liberal too, or something. I don't know, but these are definitely liberals, because by the end of it, they were calling Matt a Nazi. And and
Okay.
I couldn't. That was a line too far. I can go to saying to my Republican friends that, hey, don't we think that we need to be able to answer that basic question? But no, I'm not going to be on board when you start calling people Nazis. And so then the script flipped a little bit. But it became apparent to me after starting to look at all the comments and the commenters that it was a lot of environmental, the tree hugging type
Right.
folks that were the ones that were making all of these attacks, which was an interesting dynamic, because we've always heard that it's always the Democrats and the leftists that are on board with the Silicon Valley thing. But then here it is. It seems like all the conservatives and Republicans are now full-throated AI and tech.
Oh, I know. I thought everybody was supposed to be mad at Elon Musk now and Jeff Bezos and everybody. And, Republicans, we're supposed to hate them. I mean, I don't. I respect them because, well, they're billionaires. But from business standpoint, but I want to point out a couple of things. So, and I'm going to publish, I've got a white paper done. I'm going to publish this on Bossier Watch, but most of the time the subsidies don't directly influence the corporate decisions. Most of the time, by the time it's got some weight in it, but most of the time I've been through one of these deals before, and the subsidies are not what attracted us to move an entire manufacturing company. All right, they're not. It was the availability of space and a few other issues, some financing promises by, low interest financing promises by the local banks. That's what influenced it. And when the politicians came in with these other deals, it's like, well, okay, if y'all want to offer that, that's fine too. The other thing is that secrecy increases the likelihood of waste, inflated job projections, and hidden public risk, because we've all seen it. Now, our good friend Mike Eccles has been touting the Meta data center over in Richland Parish. And look, it's a big project. It's a good project for the area. There's a ton of construction jobs for that, and it's going to help out. And I looked up the infographic that Meta's put out and white paper that they put out, and they're citing for that facility for there to be around 500 permanent jobs. That's after the construction jobs. Now, I can tell you that most companies really inflate those numbers to make it look good. So, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, even if it were 250 or 300 permanent jobs, that's pretty good. But considering the amount of incentives and subsidies that they have likely received, does the math work out in the equation?
Well, it's interesting that you would say that. Oop, wrong document. If you'll standing
by. We have documents inbound, people. You're supposed to say incoming.
There we go.
Okay, so let me go back to a screen share with Mr. Lowry again. Hold on, let's see. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so I haven't had a long time, but so following kind of what's been going around a little bit, that you had all the councilmen from city of Shreveport that took a field trip to Prince William County, Virginia, I guess where it is, to go tour a facility up there, and they wanted for themselves to verify whether it was going to be so loud that you would need ear protection and the like and all. And I think that KSLA thing that we'll show, I saw it. It was a good clip, and it was a good interview they did with those councilmen on some of the basic questions. They didn't go as far as I would like them to have went, but this I went and found this Prince William County revenue report regarding the data center that's supposed to be the hub of data center, the big fancy place in the country. And there's appears to be a lot of tax revenue that was generated from those data centers. And you can scroll through all of this whole document. It's 32 pages. And it appears to me that because I can't find anywhere where there was any tax abatement. I can't find anywhere where there was any exemptions. I can't find where there was anything from when they started to present day. And
really,
and their numbers are it's really huge. And if somebody watching wants to comment and share, I think I may have heard something where the data centers here are going to get a pass. They're going to just come in and do this. And I hate to be one of the ones pointing this out, but in this place, they paid taxes from day one, but here they're going to get a pass for maybe up to 20 years.
That's interesting. In all seriousness, if anybody can do the research, Mr. Sadow, who is not correct about the 85 decibels being a jet engine, but that's a whole other story. So yeah, maybe we can look up and verify whether there were or were not. Like you said, in your research and digging, you hadn't been able to find any tax incentives or tax abatements. And look, again, this is not anti-business. Duke, you and I are both very much pro-business. And again, just repeating, we're not against these data centers coming in, but there are some things that are, well, let's just say interesting that we feel need to be looked at. And the amount of tax dollars given away are certainly one of them. And look, I'm one that is I'm about as anti-class warfare as you can get. But when you look at the record number of the record profits and revenues from all of these major companies, they can afford to help upgrade the infrastructure, which is going to generate them more revenue and they're going to make more money. There's no reason why this should be subsidized by you and I. Look, I already use ChatGPT and I pay ChatGPT. I do the paid service. I pay Google money. I pay Apple money. I pay, well, let's see. No, I don't pay Facebook because I don't pay for the little blue check mark. But anyway, but I use their products and use their services, and we put out good content, which helps Facebook, blah, blah, blah. The point I'm getting at is they're more than capable. If they need enhanced power facilities around these data centers, they can more than afford to build their own power plants.
Yeah, and I want to take this back. So I have a big question mark on the tax benefit that they're going to be getting as opposed to the deals that they've done in other places in the country. So I want to address the water thing because when I was getting those calls, there was a little bit of discussion. You know, someone was saying, "Well, I've not seen a water study out of Bossier." Well, I disagreed that, you know, I think that there was a water study. In fact, I recall it in the debate on the water line going to the port. And if my memory had served me correctly, that there was an estimate of about 50 million gallons or something to that was, I think, the number that was used. And I think residential only used something to the tune of, you know, 12 or 13 million gallons currently, and we sold out so many more million gallons to the parish or to different little places, right? And then if you did the math, then this data center or the data centers were going to use all of the excess water capacity. They were going to use it all, which would have put us, and I think that was to the tune of 13 something million. It would have put us over our ability to produce enough water if it was at the maxes on every end. But the thing is I do know this, and we covered it in one of the council meetings at some point back. The city was putting in this this ozone treatment thing. Mm-hmm. And that ozone treatment thing was going to increase their capacity, as I appreciate it, from 50 to 60 something million, right? Which would still have had us exceeding if you were max wide open, having to, you know, have the maximum amount being consumed, you still would. But that's just Bossier. Now that still leaves the question of Shreveport, because if Shreveport, and I'm going to say this the way it is, if they had to give up sending water to Barksdale Air Force Base because they were having problems producing enough water to support the city of Shreveport, I'm dying to know how they're going to produce enough water to support the data center over there.
But let me just give you the redneck perspective on it. So Cross Lake probably has, I don't know, 25 to 35, 40 billion gallons of water in it at any point in time. And when it rains and runs over the, you know, goes through their little system and runs over the spillway and all that excess water.
I saw that statistic, 42 something was the 42, whatever was the measurement. Right. But if you're going to use that, then what are we going to do with, is it Dallas over there that's trying to pull that excess?
I don't
We've
think
got to.
Dallas is trying to pull it from Cross, but I know Dallas. Well, here's the thing to remember about Texas.
What are the
Texas
Seven
only
Pines?
had
Seven
Lake of the
Pines.
Pines.
Lake of the Pines, yeah.
Lake of the Pines, but Lake of the Pines only vaguely indirectly feeds Cross. It doesn't directly feed it at all. It feeds Caddo. But even the truth is, a few million gallons of water out of Cross Lake, it's a drop in the bucket. 1 billion gallons is 1,000 million gallons.
Well,
So you're not gonna. It's like the whole debate of them pulling the fracking water out of Cyprus, and everybody was going ballistic over that. You're not even going to notice that.
yeah,
So,
but
the Red River. Do you know how many trillions and quintillions of gallons of water flow right down that Red River, and we all watch it go south? And it just goes to the Mississippi River and out to the Gulf.
I know full well, because that study that we pulled out a long time ago, remember the master study that the Bossier, Caddo, Hall of Northwest Louisiana did to determine what was the best source of water for a large-scale water system for Northwest Louisiana? It wasn't any of the lakes. None of the lakes met the need. The only water source that met the need was the Red River. Yes, I do remember that. But the point I'm getting at is, and we've been here before, and Oklahoma and Texas have already been going at it, but we're fixing to move fast into a states' rights issue here. That's what's happening. It's not Louisiana growing by leaps and bounds. If you've drove between here and Dallas, I-20 corridor down through there is blowing up.
Well, and let me finish my thought from earlier. I'm glad you brought me back around to that. So Texas only has 2 natural lakes in it, other than, ponds or whatever, natural ponds. And that's Caddo, which is a naturally formed lake. And I forget the name of the other one. But the rest of those lakes in Texas that we all fish and love, they were not here 85 years ago. They didn't exist. And they were all built to feed. Some were built for farming and agriculture, but most of them were built to feed the Dallas Metroplex and Houston and the other cities water. I'll repeat, I lived on Lake Fork or near Lake Fork when they built the water pipeline to go from Lake Fork to Dallas. It's a 6-foot water pipeline running all the way from Lake Fork to Dallas. And they have water rights to, I think it's like 6 feet of the water out of Lake Fork, which is arguably the best known bass fishing lake of all time. Anyway, my point is you're absolutely right. All that feeds to Dallas and feeds to some of it to Houston and all that. And they're trying to draw water from Lake of the Pines, which directly feeds Caddo and somewhat indirectly helps feed Cross Lake. So it's all kind of connected. But we've got the capacity. And look, Jessica Langley, I agree with you. All you need is a drought, and then all you need is a flood year like 2015 or 2016. Do you know how many jillions, if that's even a word, gallons of water flowed down the Red during the 2016 flood?
Right. And with all that said, I still contend we, more so than anywhere else in the country, maybe with the exception of some places that are right adjoining the Mississippi River, are in a great place to do this because of our resources. I think we're in a good spot. But unlike, and I would love to hear Mr. Eccles' take on this. I should have called him and tried to get him on the show to talk about this, because the Meta Center over there, as I appreciated, is not being water sourced by a surface water source, but rather from drilling freaking wells. Ooh. They're drilling wells, taking water out of an aquifer and out of the ground to support that thing. And it's a ton of water. And large wells, and I understand the number is like 12 to 14 wells. And you want to know what's even worse about it, Rex?
What's that?
As I appreciate it, those 12 to 14 wells aren't being drilled even by a Louisiana company. In fact, no Louisiana drilling company was even solicited to do the work. It was a company out of East Texas over there.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that Louisiana companies weren't even allowed to bid on this?
Weren't even asked. That's what I'm telling you.
Huh. Well, that's an
So,
interesting fact or turn of events if that's correct.
if that's correct, I mean, if our elected officials and Mike seem and I'm not saying, I'm not laying this on Mike, and I'm not criticizing him on it, but
Right.
I'm saying, he's touting how great everything is. Well, I don't know the details. I'd love to hear the details on wells supporting the water needs on this deal. I mean, because it wasn't long ago. I remember the reports. The Sparta, for example, was losing a foot a day of elevation in the Sparta at one point.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I studied it in high school. We did in a couple of classes I was in, and the biggest draw off the Sparta then was the paper plants, the paper mills. And I'm not anti-paper mills. I fully support our timber industry too, but they draw insane amount of water, and we're pulling directly out of the Sparta. I was trying to pull up the map and see how far, because I don't remember how far east the Sparta goes. I don't remember if it crosses the Washita River boundary right there, or how that works. I forget. If maybe Satow or somebody, if you're listening, or somebody that knows, how far east does the Sparta Aquifer go?
Yeah, so it's another question. If they're tapping the Sparta, say, for that over there, and that is an aquifer that affects us,
Right.
and if our elected officials are signing non-disclosure agreements, are our elected officials up to the task to ask all these questions, consider these things? Are they doing that? And are we not going to know until it's too late? Unfortunately, at the end of the day on this question, it comes down to one of two things. One, you're going to have to trust them that they're going to make the best decision in the best interest of everybody. And then two, if it turns out they were wrong, they're going to have to own it.
Yeah.
And part of owning it is you holding them responsible.
Right.
Case in point, Bossier City. You didn't do the will of the people on term limits, and look what it did. It completely flipped city government.
You are very correct. Look, and I know a lot of y'all have been doing this already, but we encourage, I'm staunchly against NDAs. Duke, I think you're pretty much against the NDA situation as well. We understand it legally. We're just against it in principle. And so reach out to your city councilman and tell them y'all are not happy, and reach out to the mayor or, well, Amanda, and let them know as well. Make your voice heard.
I'm not saying go beat up the elected officials. I don't know if I agree with that you call them and you start pounding them.
Well, how
I'm just
else
saying,
are you going to affect change other than lawsuits and going to the ballot box?
Well, what they can say, they're not bound to say, are my water rates, utilities rates going to increase as a result of the decisions you're making on the business that you're allowing the mayor to enter into an agreement with? It's a simple yes or no question. Additionally, will my electric utility rates go up? They're going to say, I can't answer that. I'm not SWEPCO. Okay, well then the politician's responsibility is to have, what's his name, Corbin or whatever, standing in front of them answering that question. I mean, they can answer those questions. And if they don't answer those questions, then I would say then you got a problem.
Then we can get out the torches and pitchforks.
Then we can get hang them high. Those are but I don't understand why they don't just come right out and answer those questions. I don't get
because
it.
they don't know. They're guessing, Duke, and they're just doing what all the uppity ups tell them. I mean, it's, they don't know.
Yeah, but going to screw up a good opportunity. And for those people that, on the electric stuff, we'll share screen again.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing that. Share screen. So if you, well, yeah.
All right, let's see.
So if you think that you can go and find all of the records, Public Service Commission covers everything regarding utilities and all. And guess what? Confidential sealed documents can be filed with the Public Service Commission.
Right. And look, Miss Ruth Pope has a good point. She says, I think we're all against NDAs, but the stage was set by our state legislators with HB 461 by Stephen Jackson. That doesn't force them to sign NDAs, Miss Ruth. I agree with your point and your premise, Miss Ruth, but it doesn't force them to sign the NDAs. There's nothing that says they have to. They could just refuse to do it. Say, we're not going to do business with you if we have to sign an NDA. But anyway, I digress. I could beat that dead horse all night.
Yeah. So I would take with a grain of salt a lot of the criticisms that there's a lot of people out there making, saying, oh, it's already built in. You're going to have a 35% increase in electrical costs. I went on the Louisiana Public Service Commission trying to find rate increases. I did find something where they're trying to get or have an increase thing to where they can cut more transmission lines, because they got a bush hog and clear and all that crap that they're wanting to clear more, all that stuff. And we've got a ton of that information on there, but I didn't find anything that would result in a 35% increase. Maybe I missed it, and maybe somebody watching the show can produce it, but I couldn't find it. Is it a fact that some documents are sealed that are filed with them? Yes, that's true. There are. Could it be in that? Maybe. I don't think it is. Maybe. But I would be shocked if SWEPCO passed on something like that. And if an elected official allows us to go forward without asking that question, and it does, then guess what? They're going to have to go to the House, and you're going to have to hold them accountable. That's how this works. That's your course of action.
Yep, I would agree. All right. Speaking of Virginia and that area, we're going to talk about Delaware too. We're just over there on the East Coast. Isn't Delaware on the East Coast too?
I know about Delaware. That's where if you've got a company and you want to do things on the lowdown, you go get you a Delaware company. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You ain't heard that?
I've heard that rumor before, but I didn't really think it was going to apply to Bossier Watch, but apparently it might. We'll see.
Well, we just need to go get us a Delaware watch.
That's right. Yeah. We just need to file as a Delaware corporation. We could be legitimate instead of illegitimate.
Delaware watch in Bossier City live.
So here's the deal with all this. All right, let's move into this. I'm going to play this video. We've shown it before. I think it was around show 237 or something like that. Lights out. All right. Most of you may remember, or some of you may remember, the Bossier Extended Stay saga. So I'm going to roll this video and we'll get into talking about this.
Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Bisky Duncan. Bossier Extended Stay and Oyo Hotel are facing utility issues after Bossier City notified both establishments of a code violation that prohibits short-term stay facilities from having guests staying longer than 30 days. Now, one of the managers claims it was never an issue. After both businesses got power cut off on Monday afternoon, Bossier City says these businesses were cited for being in violation of code of life safety since they were not being used as they were intended for. Now, the city's code of Ordinance Section 18.1 says that the city's building official has the authority to make or order any disconnection or turning off of utility services if they find a reasonable cause that creates danger to life or property. Bossier Extended Stay's manager said they received 2 letters from the city's property manager saying their business was having guests using the hotel as a permanent residence. Now, since then, they started removing those guests.
I don't have any customers stay here longer than 30 days. And for the new check-in and new customers, we even let only take up to 4 weeks payment. We roll it down the last day they can stay here on their receipt. I take care of it. So there's no violation.
And KSLA News 12 was in the building when the electricity got turned back on today. And Bossier City says they are not sure what will happen with the utilities in the future.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there. Okay, so that's the little refresher. But a couple of key things. You know, this was about a year ago, if I remember correctly. And a couple of key things with that. First of all, and I think we talked about this before, Duke, we brought up the point that, well, I wonder if the city of Bossier enforces this 30-day rule. Have to be an apartment complex after 30 days. I wonder if they enforce that rule on all these out-of-town oil field workers and construction workers and pipeline workers and all that. I wonder if they enforce that.
I mean, look, I remember going to Nikki's up there off of Viking or whatever, and that little hotel right there next to the Mexican joint or whatever. You'd have thought that was the Halliburton satellite office up there.
Exactly.
With the number of Halliburton trucks in the parking lot.
Yeah. And look, I know when I used to pipeline, we stayed in hotels. But now, not in Bossier City. I didn't pipeline in Bossier City, but we stayed in hotels way longer than 30 days. So that was one of the things that struck out. And to refresh everybody's memory, I had an interview with Rena, and she went over this. We played it on one of the shows. And what struck me was when they cut the water off, the city cut the water off, the bill was paid in full. It wasn't even late at all. The bill was paid in full, and basically with no notice, they cut the dang water off out there, which created a hazard in and of itself. And then Jacobs is dancing around and prancing around saying, oh, if it's after 30 days, they have to, it's got to be an apartment complex. Well, you need to check, I think, the zoning classification over there. I don't think that apartment complex can be, that hotel or motel cannot be zoned or set up as an apartment complex. I mean, unless the city council wants to change it.
Well, I mean, let's face it. This I think we articulated back then that this wasn't about whether people were staying. Everybody. We said. I remember in our show. I remember saying these words. Everybody in Bossier knows people were staying there for extended periods of time. Everybody knew that. It was nothing secret. But what changed? There was something that changed that made people want to go down there and start.
I wonder if didn't they put a new casino down there or something? They took that old ratty one that was falling down and they redid that whole casino. Or maybe I'm confused.
You talking about all the debris? Oh wait a minute, no, it was something else.
Yeah.
I went old school on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've lost track because I don't really go to the casinos that much. Every once in a while we'll go, but seems like there was a casino built down there. And rumor has it that they were also trying to get some other properties around there. I can't confirm 100% how those solicitations for the property were done, but let's just say that's very interesting. So,
well, and you say that. I mean, we had a report that a city official went down proffering offers, in which I confronted that city official about that, to which he denied and said that wasn't true.
That is correct. It's just, kind of interesting. And here's what we were alluding to with the Delaware Corporation deal. So apparently, the company that owns the Bossier Extended Stay has put that property up for sale, or at least I guess it still is. I'm not really sure. And I think they were asking, based on our research, I think it was $5.5 million. It's, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 acres or whatever it is, plus the hotel there. And it's right there on I-20, and a cash cow sitting there. apparently nobody bid on it because, well, it couldn't be turned into an apartment complex, number one, because of the way it's zoned over there or whatever. And number two, there was a lowball bid apparently submitted by a Delaware corporation. Did you know that, Mr. Lowry?
I heard that, but I hadn't actually seen it, so I'll take your word for it that it was. And what's the significance of a Delaware corporation? Do tell.
Well, sources say, so this is not confirmed because, you can only look up so much information on the Delaware corporations, but sources say that that corporation has some mysteriously close ties in the name of it to one of the casinos here in Bossier.
How about that?
Yeah.
Who knew that Horseshoe would do something like that?
I know. They're trying to expand across the interstate over there and encroach on Live Casino's property.
Horseshoe wouldn't want to go south of the interstate ever in a million years.
So, look, we'll leave it up to y'all to put two and two together who this potentially may have been. Again, not confirmed. But this is all like this tangled web that's been woven over that dadgum property. My contention is the city, again, used mafia-like tactics to try to get something done that they needed done.
So I don't understand why it is. I mean, well, no, I understand, because if you could do it once and get away with it, why not do it again? I mean, heck, we can go send the popo down after dog kennels, at the direction of allegedly councilman and the city attorney, and get away with it and strong arm people. I mean, why not a little old people down here with a little hotel?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the federal lawsuit right here. It is Maryton Bossier LLC versus the city of Bossier. Hello, Tommy Chandler. Hello, Rodney Taylor. That's an awfully familiar name. And oh, look, there's Zamboni Chuck Jacobs, all listed as defendants. And we're going to post this, so I'm not going to go through this line by line, but let's just go through a little bit of the introduction. This action arises from Bossier City's issuance of a change in use notice, a cease and desist directive, and the termination of water and electrical service. And let me say, rumor has it that Bossier, the city, demanded that SWEPCO do an emergency cutoff, like the building was on fire or something.
Yeah, and additionally, SWEPCO ended up going back out, turning it back on, and said, "Piss on you! We're not going to play in this. We're not going to play in this sand pit."
Right. Okay. Despite the absence of any life safety hazard and without providing a notice, a hearing, or access to any available administrative review process to contest the city's determinations, these actions rendered the hotel inoperable, caused the loss of all commercial and transient tenants, and resulted in a dramatic reduction in the property's market value. Oh, imagine that. Who would that benefit? I'm just asking the question. Could it benefit 7-Eleven? No. Circle K? No. Horseshoe? Maybe. Live? Maybe. The city's determinations were inconsistent with repeated fire department inspection findings from January through December 2024, each of which identified only minor issues that were promptly resolved. The December 4th, 2024 inspection confirmed that all prior issues had been corrected and that no life safety hazards remained. Independent construction expert Carl S. Cochran confirmed the same during his July the 16th, 2025 inspection. See their exhibit. Independent construction expert confirmed in October of 2025 that the hotel's ISO Class 3 non-combustible construction and overall condition did not support emergency utility termination. Despite those findings, the city issued a cease and desist on December 5th of 2024, instructed SWEPCO to disconnect electric service on the 9th, and on December 10th, again last year, terminated water service to the Bossier Extended Stay. We have not forgotten about this, Tommy Chandler and Chucky Boy Jacobs. We have not forgotten about this.
So I'm scrolling through it myself, the document, and I'm just trying to get to the total number. Because what I want to know is how much of a loss are we facing as a result of? I mean, I got to say who it is. This ain't on the council. This would be on the administration. This is the mayor and the city attorney that I think have made all these decisions. So, what is the magic number? Where's it at? It's got to be in here somewhere. And it's got to be in the millions.
I'm sure. I mean, now look, full disclosure, I've not gone through this entire document thoroughly. I do know there's been some scrambling in the city attorney's office. And again, we've got a leaked memo to show here in just a little bit. I don't know.
Here it is right here. Here it is right here. It said before the shutdown, the Bossier Extended Stay had a listing price value of $5.2 million. On June 19th, a letter of intent was delivered to Marytown offering to purchase the property for $480,000.
You remember back on that show, we talked about this, that it was a basic scam perpetrated apparently by the city through mafia Gestapo-like tactics to benefit apparently some Delaware corporation.
That's it says in here 91% property devaluation. Interesting.
Yeah. Good one, Tommy. We're really glad that the mayor of our fair city, that's the message you want to send to potential businesses coming into town. Thanks a lot, Tommy. I mean, what if the data center people see this? What if they hear about this? Or are they going to have to worry about y'all getting tired of the data center and the noise and going in there like this and trying to jackboot them around? Is this the way you do business, Tommy Chandler?
I'm still looking for the magic number of how much we're talking about here. How much all the taxpayers, how much is this calamity at City Hall going to cost this time?
Yeah,
thank goodness there's not a railroad crossing here, or we'd probably lose that too.
Yeah, and Miss Ruth says she wishes the city council would step in and settle the Red Rover case. The problem is the Red Rover case was dismissed with prejudice. That's a problem.
How does that happen? Wasn't that in district court? Yeah. But this will be federal court, so I'm not so sure that it's going to just get blown right out.
Right. So yeah, and again, folks, we'll post this whole document here. Let's see. Do you know? All right, yeah, that's when you were reading section 55. I don't know. Do they have the part of the lawsuit where they pray for whatever the court can decide? I don't know. Let's see.
I can't see it, but for some reason, when I looked before, $12 million jumped out in my head.
Oh.
So I think that's the burden that the taxpayers are looking at is, potentially $12 million. But
I mean, this is potentially another Link Coleman deal.
Yeah, could be for a why don't they just go down there and offer the people a fair?
Why don't they just turn the damn water back on and leave them alone?
Yeah, good grief.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not angry with you, of course, Duke. This just burns my rear end to know.
I mean, look, I would like to see the place torn down and all of that dressed up or whatever, but I would like more to see let's not keep doing stupid stuff like this and treating people who have been here like criminals. I just I don't know. I don't get it. So what about this secret document? Because I'm intrigued on this secret document.
All right, so I'm going to pull up the first page of it, but I really want to kind of go over the last page, and we're going to post this so y'all can remember it. But this is a leaked attorney-client privileged and confidential memo. It is clearly labeled as attorney work product. So I expect us to get a lawsuit probably first thing in the morning as soon as they can get to the courthouse and get the daggum thing filed. But anyway, here we go.
Oh, this is awesome.
So apparently, it'll be a first time to actually be sued. So apparently this is to the mayor from the city attorney's office about the Meriton Bossier LLC case. And
wait a minute.
It's providing
wait a minute.
What?
Are you telling me, when did they vote to change the city logo?
Shh. Well, they are a bunch of jackasses.
Did I miss that meeting? I think I missed that meeting. Carry on. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I look up here and somebody's done went and changed the city logo.
All right. So I want to get to the conclusion of this. This case presents, again, this is purportedly from the city attorney's office, says this case presents non-trivial constitutional litigation risks. This is what the city attorney has purportedly said. Particularly if damages continue to accrue, a measured procedural reset undertaken without admission of and with rights reserved materially improves the city's defensive posture. The practical consideration. It would be remiss not to acknowledge the practical realities that accompany high visibility enforcement actions like stomping your boot on somebody's neck, particularly those that intersect with utilities, occupied properties, media coverage, and prior learning experiences. Last page over here, it says, and I quote, put it plainly, the city must act now collectively to cover our butts. For these reasons, a controlled procedural reset is recommended because the city was wrong and because continued escalation increases the odds that future decisions will be made under oath rather than under advisement. Oh yeah, and those pesky Bossier Watch guys are going to talk about us even more. Recommended implementing the above steps promptly and to discuss execution details at your direction, prepared purportedly by the city attorney.
Maybe that's the official logo for the city attorney's office there. That's what that's got to be.
Yes.
That's not the city.
This is, there you go, boys. That's your new city logo right there. Y'all are a bunch of jackasses for cutting their water off. That includes you, Tommy. Nice guy, but sorry. You're a jackass for cutting their water off. So
Comedy Hour makes its way to Bossier Watch.
There's your Christmas present.
Delaware Watch.
Yeah.
I forgot.
There's your Christmas present, Tommy Chandler, and your administration. That includes Richard Ray, too. I forgot to mention Richard Ray. I hadn't had to say his name in a while.
Well,
speaking of Richard Ray,
I got to think back about that. Was Jacobs not, down and out with medical during that time? And was it Richard? I can't remember.
I think that was after. I think that was after Jacobs already came back. Because remember, that was after the term limits saga, wasn't it? Correct our timeline, folks, in the comments. But either way, it doesn't matter. They could have taken corrective action when Jacobs came back. Let's assume he was on medical leave. When he came back, he could have looked at this and said, well, this is stupid. Y'all go turn the water back on. But oh no, let's double down and be bigger jackasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, either way, fun calling them jackasses tonight.
I can, okay. I got it. I got it.
I'm getting off my soapbox. I got to go take my blood pressure medicine.
Hey, and I did. Jeff Sadow sent me confirmation that that part of Monroe over there is part of the Sparta Aquifer. So
Yeah.
if they are tapping the Sparta, and that's a good point, Robert Goodwin. How about the parking lot paving? I thought we were having some parking lot investigation thing or whatever.
Yeah. Where you at, Brian Hammonds? Where's your investigation at?
Well,
that is the number one viewed video we've ever produced on Facebook. Where's your investigation at, Brian Hammonds, while I'm on my tirade tonight?
Well, and every dollar ever spent on the parkway. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my grandson's watching. I guess I better watch my language. I'm going to go in there and he's going to be repeating what I said. Great.
Yeah. So, all I can say is if I had my vote tomorrow, I'd be voting for the data centers. I think we need to move forward on that. And if we get a raw deal on it, this is an easy one as a citizen. If our elected officials didn't do a good job for us, then we're just going to have to hold them accountable. If they didn't ask the right questions and they made a bad deal, if they're wanting to do NDAs and they made a bad deal, it's going to be on them. Yeah, are we all going to be left holding the bag? Yeah, we are, but it's incumbent upon us to make them pay up for it. That's how this works. And we got
to keep an eye out on them.
That's right. As for the city of Bossier and that hotel thing, I don't know. It's not right. And it's another indication to y'all, citizens of Bossier, elections.
Yep. Actions have consequences, and they're called elections. Yep. All right. I'm done. I'm going to go take some blood pressure meds and hope that my 3-year-old grandson is not running around the house saying the jack wagon sort of word that I kept repeating while he was watching.
Bring them up early, right?
Exactly.
Thank you all for watching. Y'all have a good night, and we'll see y'all next week.